So, hello guys, my name is Arnav, and today's topic is addictions. I'm pretty sure everyone has addictions of all kinds. I mean, I'm addicted to my mobile phone, I'm addicted to food, I'm addicted to pretty much all the sins in the world. But I think everyone has experiences with addiction, and we like to talk about it in our today's podcast. One thing people always look over is like addictions may not actually be as bad as drug addictions, but they still exist, and they are like a parasite, and they take over our lives. They take over uh, all important things that we do. uh, for example, one would if one is addicted to the mobile phones, it prevents them from studying as a whole.
I remember the one time we were talking about it, right? When you were like, what, 2 years ago-ish? You spent 6 hours on Instagram scrolling through like feeds and stories and everything, right?
Yeah, I 6 hours straight.
Wow,
I was
that's
like,
crazy.
and the
Yeah.
thing is, next day I had like a cycle test. I had an exam the next day, and I sat from 8 p.m. to like 2 a.m. I was just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling.
Wow.
To the point that I didn't even realize. I finally realized it when I reached when that message arrives that you have completed all the posts, and I used to follow like 1,000 people. So
Mm,
that was one of the bad
wow.
moments
Bad
of my
moments.
short life.
Yeah. How would you say you
Right.
could? Yeah. So how would you say like you could have avoided that? Maybe.
See, one of the things I've discovered recently is there's this app, um, which basically is a app which basically kills or ends the app once you reach a certain time limit. So if I spend more than like 30 minutes on Instagram, uh, it kills the app. So then I can't use it
Seriously?
again.
It like keeps you in check and everything. Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's pretty
but
useful.
like, yeah, but there are always loopholes. I
Yeah,
think you need to have a little. You need to have a little willpower as well to
Right.
I think it
Right.
helps you, but you have to do it yourself.
Right. Anything that requires you need to do something, right? Like you can't just sit mindlessly scroll through everything and be like, nah, I'll put it away in 2 minutes, 3 minutes. 3 minutes becomes 30, 30 becomes 60, and 60 becomes 3 hours. It's crazy.
Yeah, you're like,
Out
oh,
there.
I'll shut it right now. Let the clock reach 8:35. Then you're like, oh, it's 8:40 now. Okay, now let
Exactly.
me reach the clock till it's 8:50, and then it keeps on going like that.
Exactly. Time just flies by.
it's an endless
Especially
cycle.
right, especially when you're in high school, man. It's like crazy. You have so much work to do. Like we take IB, right? So we know all about work.
Yeah.
I mean, not saying any other curriculum is bad or anything, but IB is insane.
IB is very hard.
Right. So we have these projects called PBLs, and we have 12 project PBLs due in 2 weeks. And most people were sick at the beginning of the year, so they didn't even get to start their PBLs yet. And these projects are insane. They take too much time away. On top of this, they need to work on their academics, right? So in reality, there is no time to spare for addiction or something. I mean, addiction is only negative when it goes to a point where it interrupts your daily life, right? Like, of course, you can scroll through social media or stuff, like for like 30 minutes a day, 40 minutes is even fine. But if you prioritize that over your workload, then that's a problem, right? You shouldn't do that. Like, you know you shouldn't do that, but you still do it. Like, why do you guys think that is? Like, we know it's wrong. Everyone in the world knows it's wrong. Like, everyone who does drugs knows it's wrong. I'll take an example, right? My grandfather, real story, right? Real life story. My grandfather, right? My dad's father, he was a chain smoker. He smoked for his entire life. He started when he was 15, and he's like, I don't care about dying, right? I don't care if I die tomorrow. Like, what's the big deal? I'll just enjoy my life until I'm alive. He died 13 days before I was born. That's the time he wanted to be alive the most, right? True story, guys. And that's what my dad always says. That's what my dad always says, right? Addiction or anything that you think is good or anything that you want to do now the most, right? Don't do it. Do something that is uncomfortable, but it'll benefit you in the long run.
I agree. Also, there are a lot of stigma related to addiction, wherein, when I was a kid, everyone would be like, that boy takes drugs, don't talk to him. That boy spoiled, his parents didn't raise him well. But when I was going through my phone, and then when I realized I almost spent like 6 hours straight, I realized there's more to addiction than it's almost as if the person doesn't have a control over it. And I think one of the ways that I can understand how it seems if someone like, why didn't I do that? Why didn't I just stop being addicted? So easy.
Regret.
But yeah, one of the things, one of the important things is just telling yourself that I think one of the first things that you have to do is first tell yourself that you're addicted, because that's the first step.
Right. The
So
first step in solving any problem is identifying there is one. That's the first thing you need to do. You gotta admit, you gotta be honest with yourself and say, yes, I'm doing the wrong thing. Let me get back on the right path. Do whatever it takes to get back on the right path so I can keep moving forward.
I agree. Most people are already in denial. So first they'll be like, no, bro, I just spent 3 hours. Like, that's no big deal. I'm not addicted at all. And the 3 hours
Right.
becomes 5 hours and 6 hours.
Right.
I think, yeah. So the first thing, like, if you know that you're addicted, I think you're halfway there. I think the next thing
Right.
is
Agreed. Is to work on actually solving it, right? How do you? Yes, you admit it to yourself and to everyone around you that yes, I am addicted to social media, whatever you're addicted to. What do I do now? I admitted it. So what's the first
How do you
step?
fix it? How do you change your behavior? All that.
Go ahead, Achyuth. Yeah.
Yeah. So at one point, like, I used to play Fortnite for a long time, 2-3 hours a day.
4,000 battle royales. How many wins, bro? Okay, just kidding.
Too many. But yeah, so
Too bad.
I used to play a lot, and I would start off at half an hour, and then I tell my parents, yeah, half an hour is too low because half an hour you can get only like one proper game in. And then my parents were like, okay, fine, you get an hour. And then that hour also felt like too little when I was playing with friends, because I was just enjoying myself with friends, and the time just flew and you wouldn't actually notice it. And as my 10th grade boards came nearer, and like towards the second semester of 10th is when I stopped playing as much. And that's when I actually realized how much time I was losing by just sitting in front of a laptop and playing the entire day. And yeah, it's sort of like, and then my parents put a password, all of that, and then it's helped as such. And yeah, one of the main things I feel for even for an IB student is, if you start, even like all the distractions you have, they aren't actually huge distractions. It's just the amount of time you spend, even if it is very little, it feels like so much because you have so much work and you have to complete so much work in the limited amount of time you have a day.
Right. Yeah. I want to go back to the point you made, right? When your parents put a password on your stuff, like, were you angry at the time, or were you like, nah, why did you guys do that? Or like, were you, yes, I understood my problem, so I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I was pretty angry at that point because I felt like they were doing something unnecessary, or it was just useless. Because I for one was a person who would figure out passwords for my parents' iPads when they locked it in like a couple of days. And yeah, so I was that kind of person who would try and crack passwords. But then for the password,
that's why you edit videos for us now, but right.
Well, you could say that. So yeah, one of the main reasons I got mad was because I thought, like, what's the point? Like, I'll crack it in a few days. But then what I realized after that, when I like spent 2 or 3 days without gaming, was that I had a lot more time. And so I just gave up on even trying to crack the password, because I knew it would be better for me if I didn't try. If I knew, then I would keep going back and trying to get myself the game back. But then if I did not, then I would just be myself. I would have more time to do things. I would have more time to spend with friends. I'd have more time to spend productively, all that.
Kudos to you, man. You got over your addiction. There you go.
Not fully, but I'm getting there.
I agree. I think whatever you do, I mean, you could tie yourself to a bedpost for 2 months, and then when you untie yourself,
that is
totally. You're going to do the same thing unless you push yourself to pass the threshold and to not be addicted.
Right, dude. So you're talking about pushing oneself, right? I have a personal experience to share here. Again, second time in a row I'm bringing this up, but I did move to India last year, and my mind was in a certain like fixed sort of emotional state that I didn't want to accept change at all. I just shut myself from the society in the real world. I was like, you just work or whatever, and like just computer screen 12 hours a day. And it was COVID as well. I didn't get to go to school. So 6 months, the first half of 11th grade was absurd, weird, ridiculous. I did barely anything. And my semester grades, my midterm grades, I bombed every test. Except for ITGS. Even the easiest class in all of IB, I bombed it. Regretted it. Paid the price for it in ways that most people won't understand. And that much hurt. I mean, I know it was my fault, but still hurt me regardless. I was pretty salty for a while, and then that's what motivated me to kick me out of that bed at 5 or 4:30 in the morning to work out, come back, study, go to school, come back, right, do work, talk to friends, do a podcast now, and actually show people what it means to just work yourself off every day, right, day in and day out. And that's it, guys. Just if you don't have anything that's gonna push you forward, if you feel like, oh man, I'm never gonna get over this, like, you admit it, yes, sure, a lot of people don't admit it, but even if you do, that's like Arnav said, it's only 50% of the job done, and the other half is up to you to take it upon yourself and move on. Sometimes a little bit of hard and a little bit of stiffness and roughness in your life is necessary for you to keep going forward, right? For instance, right, I would suggest that you get up early and actually start your day before most people are awake. I would say go to bed at like 9:30 or 10, but then get up at 4:30, right? Everyone will be asleep. You'll be all alone, and you can get so much work done before everyone's awake. Because if you think about it, 4:30, right? 4:30. Let's say 4:30. 4:30 to 6, right? You can study or do whatever your morning routine is, right? That's a solid hour and a half. And then you can take a short break from 6 to 6:30 and study again until school starts. If the school starts early, then your school hopefully ends early, because that's how any system works. But for people whose school starts at like 8:39-ish, you got so much time. From 6:30, you've got like an hour or an hour and a half again to study or work out or do whatever you want to do. And then half an hour-ish travel, right? Go to school, talk to friends, study, school. Everyone knows what school is. I don't want to go into detail. You come, right? You come back, and you already did so much in the day that you don't really have too much work left, right?
Yeah.
And you be attentive in school as well. So you come back, do whatever you got to do, homeworks and stuff, go outside, play football or something, soccer, come back, go to bed, do the same thing over again.
But then doesn't this also like depend if you're a morning person or a night person? Like, because some people don't function properly in the morning, like they're much more productive at night. So me personally, I
figure out what works for you.
Me personally, I work better at night, and like one of our group members, Abhivanth, he works in the morning better. He works better in the morning. So it depends person to person, I'd say.
Right. I know the study that showed that if you take cold showers in the morning and get up early, you're most likely to be more productive. And that's what really, I was intrigued by that at the beginning, but then I actually tried it, and it's been working out fine for me. Like, I completely changed my routine since then. Right.
I agree.
It just depends person to person. You gotta figure out what you're most like able to do. If you're a night person, a night owl, stay up and work, but then you get up late, obviously. If you can't sleep late and get up early, that's one thing you should avoid, please, at all costs. Because I've been struggling with that myself. Like time management, we talked about it last time, and I'm trying to implement a lot of those skills in my life, but I haven't mastered it, obviously. So really affected my sleep schedule. My eyes were red, and it's crazy. Yep.
I agree. One of the most important things that helped me get over the social media addiction was small steps, because before it, I tried to quit cold turkey almost all of the time. And, I went for a week straight, and then I installed again. And I was back at 3 hours a day straight. So I think quitting cold turkey is probably I think there's this book by David Goggins called Can't Hurt Me, in which he says that motivation is it's like pure crap. There is you have to have the daily habit of doing it every day, regardless you have the motivation or not, because motivation comes and goes. so on the odd days you might have it, on even days you won't. But
Exactly.
if you just keep on doing it because you have to, and then you'll able to do it, like instead
Do
of
it for
quitting
10
cold
days.
turkey.
Right. Do it
Yeah,
for 10 days and it becomes a habit. Yeah, agreed.
yeah, instead of quitting cold turkey, instead of spending 6 hours, spend 5 hours. Then the next week spend 4 hours and get it down to 30 minutes. I think quitting cold turkey is the worst idea you could ever, uh, with regards to addiction, is the worst idea you could ever do.
Yeah, so
Right. Talking about motivation, right? Like, I have a different perspective on motivation. Like, I feel like whenever you don't feel like doing something, like, man, I don't want to work out today. Who's gonna get up that early in the morning? Let me sleep in. The world is sleeping in. What makes me so different, right? That is when you gotta do it. You shouldn't work when you're like, yes, I'm gonna do it today. I'm gonna like lift like 400 kilograms today, or like 400 pounds or whatever. I want to do like 100 math problems. That's fine. Everyone gets those moments and everyone works. But if you do 100 math problems and if you lift the 400 pounds at the gym when you don't feel like it, that is when you start to grow and develop. That is when you get stronger and faster and smarter.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. So I think, I mean, motivation is good for a push, but I don't think you should depend on it. I think you should make it a habit. For example, I have a dog, and I swear to God, I hate taking him out.
Neutron.
I hate take
Yeah.
it's new. His name is Neutron. I hate taking him out every evening and every morning. But now I've made it a habit. Even when I don't want to do it, it just becomes a natural reflex that I put on my sandals, and half awake, I rub my eyes and take him down. So I think,
Be careful of
and
the dog,
I
bro.
loathe him, and I loathe the dog. I swear to God, I loathe the dog. I mean, I love him, but I hate him.
It's a love-hate relationship.
But like,
Sounds stupid.
yeah, a love-hate relationship. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I
So
watched this video like a while back, like maybe 2 or 3 years back, but I remember it vividly because it talked about social media and how they keep the pages active. So unless they give you information that they think you'll actually like look at, like apps, all of those, like Instagram, how do you manage to spend 6 hours a day? Because 6 hours on one day, you managed to do that because like all the posts you felt were interesting, or like you felt like made sense, or like look nice. So the way the apps like give you that feed is like is a full science. And like I think I saw it in a video or something, but yeah, it was a small animation where like there was a guy who had to keep his phone down, and then it was just a lot of talk behind the scenes on how like the app was trying to get him to take the phone and like not take his break from social media. It's pretty informative. If I find the link, I'll put in the description.
I agree. Like you just quit the app, you keep it down, and twing, there's a
Twing,
notification.
and then you get the
Exactly.
notification. Yeah.
Even if you turn your notifications off, sometimes you're like that urge, that
Like,
itchiness.
like,
Like,
are you sure someone didn't message me? Like there might be something important, like all that.
That might be something important.
Yeah.
And then you pick that up, type your pin code, passcode in, and oh boy, that's it. That's game over.
And then
right
you're
there.
lost. It's taken over.
Lost the battle right there. The moment you're like, let me touch my phone. That's
when you start.
Yes, I've got a notification blocker for that. So like I used to do that a lot as well, and I
just
got
put your
this
phone
app.
on silent or shut it down.
Yeah,
I have
agree.
a notification blocker. It's still tempted.
I agree. I should just switch it down.
Parents do something, bro. They'll never let you have it. Actually, a second thought, don't do that. Like, yeah, you move with yourself. Yeah. Right. So yeah, I guess that brings us to the end of our podcast, right? For the second episode.
Yeah.
It was just a basic, simple sort of like, because we're not qualified enough to talk too much about addiction or obsessiveness or anything of that sort. We are 16-year-old high schoolers at the end of the day.
Yeah.
We only have experiences and all that stuff. So if you guys found this info good, useful, if you guys want to try it out, go ahead, give it a go, and put your thoughts down in the comment section below, and follow and subscribe to our channels. We'll put our every link will be in the description, the usual standard YouTube whatever people say. I have to say it. I don't have a script. We didn't write anything down this time.
To be fair, we ran out of time planning it, and we have to put out a video by Wednesday, so we're here. So, yeah.
Right, yeah, it's fun. All right, so I guess the usual, You guys are awesome. We're awesome, man. We're the unsuccessfully successful teens of high school. Peace, guys. See you later.